more than 4,000 miles from the British Isles, away across the widest and deepest stretch of the mighty Atlantic Ocean, lie the cluster of strange tropical islands known as the West Indies. Scattered in haphazard fashion between the two great American continents, shimmering in the treacherous coral waters of the mysterious Caribbean Sea, these islands cast that same spell of enchantment on the fortunate traveler of today as they did on Christopher Columbus over 400 years ago. Magnificent as are the attractions of these islands, the richest and most beautiful of them all is Jamaica. Arriving at Kingston, the capital of the island, from the great harbor, which, as can be readily imagined from the panoramic view laid out before us, is one of the 6 largest harbors in the world, indeed, we may wonder if Columbus, who discovered Jamaica in 1494, would believe his eyes today, where he suddenly catapulted into this busy street in Kingston, with its noisy streetcars, smartly attired native policemen, imposing government offices, gigantic stores, and noisy, hooting motor cars. But he needn't worry. Despite this bustling evidence of modern civilization, the city of Kingston is nothing more than an oasis in a vast expanse of riotous tropical glory, a glory which has remained unchanged throughout the centuries and is likely to continue so into eternity. Here in this exotic land of eternal summer, nature is discovered in all her most generous and exquisite moods. No prowling beast or poisonous reptile lurks in this paradise of gorgeous flowers and luscious fruits, where gleaming lily pools lie shimmering with 1,000 hues under the wings of dragonflies. Great hanging lilies and orchids of every color under the sun scent the air with their heavy, languorous odor, clustering together under the swaying palms like rows of fairy bells. All is beauty and enchantment. No discordant note disturbs the eternal quietude, a stillness broken only by the murmuring of insects, the sounds of hummingbirds, or the strange, humorous cry of the macaws. But Jamaica has something else to show. Besides her trees and flowers and lazy coral beaches, her languid palms and profuse and varied vegetation, she has one of the most superb mountain ranges in the world. These are the famous Blue Mountains, whose highest peak is nearly 8,000 feet above sea level. They are well named, for it is a curious and much commented fact that no matter what the weather, and despite the fact that they are covered the whole year round with bright green vegetation, they are always blue among the clouds, a dusky, almost ethereal blue. Among these towering peaks and deep ravines is to be found Jamaica's wildest and most spectacular scenery, winding mountain pathways, rich with coconut palms, fringed with bananas with its strange exotic pod, bamboos, climbing ferns, dark forests whose undergrowth is alive with brightly colored lizards, great masses of scarlet hibiscus, orchids and begonias, all uniting to imprint an unforgettable picture in the memory of the beholder. But the most inspiring sights of all in the Blue Mountains are the springs and streams. Jamaica is often called the Isle of Springs, and rightly so, for the word Jamaica means guarded by the sentinels of the island, the elegant swaying palms. This slender feathery grass, stirring languidly in the breeze, is not some exotic tropical species as might at first be imagined, but the ever valuable sugarcane, one of Jamaica's most important exports. In the background are the Blue Mountains again, shrouded in wraith-like mist, yet majestic and inscrutable as ever. Here on the banks of the Rio Cobre, meaning Snake River, is another greatly valued possession, the coconut palm. All kinds of things are made from coconuts, including soap. And this is how the natives get their coconuts. The ease and agility with which this feat is accomplished is little short of miraculous. It's one thing to climb a rope, but quite another to scale a coconut tree. Jamaica, in common with less romantic countries, boasts at least one well-fed porker. He wasn't camera shy. The word Jamaica just means bananas. But how many folk know what a banana plant really looks like? This untidy, ragged-looking plant with its huge exotic pod at the end of the stem is the island's most prized possession and accounts for almost 1/2 of the total annual export. The great shaggy branches provide shade and protection for the huge stems of ripening fruit, which at the first cursory glance seem almost invisible. Stirred by the breeze, the massive leaves move like the waters of a lake, a sight of grandeur and magnificence. Means of transport is as glamorous and exciting as ever. These dashing young bloods are no doubt on their way to the docks to help load the boats. To see the great ships from all the corners of the earth browsing in Kingston harbor, one might assume that the be-all and end-all of their existence. But the visit to the docks a few hours before sailing time is a revelation. Here is a ship bound for the British Isles, taking on her huge cargo of bananas. There is no sight in all the island so charged with color, rhythm, and excitement. That incessant clanging of the bell as the bearer automatically registers her stem of bananas as she approaches the entrance to the hold, where they're paid so much a stem. The loading of the vessel was begun some hours earlier, in leisurely, almost indolent native fashion, and slowly it increases in tempo like a native dance or ceremony, accompanied by a curious, monotonous babel and chanting. The singing swells to a steady, rhythmic, monotonous roar. This is no transient modern blues, but a strange, exotic native song that's in the very blood of the people. The excitement has now reached fever pitch. The heat in the great sheds is almost unbearable, and the atmosphere heavy with a sickly, pungent odor of rum from the many dockside taverns. And yet, by some miracle, the work is finished to a second. The tension breaks, the singing dies away, the ship moves silently from the quayside 4,500 miles to England and home. Side by side with the prosaic English notes, quite common in Jamaica, if not in England, the currency of Jamaica betrays a candid pride in its beautiful island. Here displayed on the Jamaican 5-shilling note is a reproduction of what is recognized as their choicest beauty spot, the island's largest and most spectacular waterfall, the Roaring River Falls. This magnificent cascade of foaming water is breathtaking in its beauty, and the thundering roar of its waters as they plunge down to the sea can be heard long before the falls are sighted. Surely there does not exist an eye so weary, a mind so jaded, that cannot respond to this superb display of grandeur. The tropical sun is setting, casting its fading light over the countless wonders of this exquisite island. Farewell to Jamaica, island of springs, gem of the Caribbean, Paradise Island.